Hello, friends. I'm no therapist, but I'm your host, Stephanie Goodman. I'm a wife, a mother, a grandmother, and a woman of faith. Often friends ask me how I have a successful marriage while blending families and staying optimistic in life. This podcast features people with real-life stories about success in relationships and triumph over trial. Today, my guest is Julie MacNeil, author of the book, The 50-Year Secret. She relates the story of her search for her birth family, but not for the reason you may think. Welcome to a new edition of I'm No Therapist, but today in my studio I have a dear friend who's sharing her personal story of being adopted and finding her birth mother and family, and because of a rare disease that sent her on a journey, and I can't wait to share it with you. I have in my studio Julie.
Hello. Thank you, Stephanie.
Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. I have been so excited to be able to share with my audience your incredible journey. But before we dive into that, I'd love for you to share with my audience a little bit of where you started. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Sandy, Utah.
Okay.
Yeah, not too far off of 90th South. Just the old part of Sandy.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And tell me a little bit about your background.
As far as childhood, or?
Yeah, about your childhood.
My parents bought a house in 1963, and they had my brother who's 4 years older, and I came along as their first adopted child, and I had a pretty typical childhood. You know, I enjoyed growing up in Sandy. Enjoyed some of my neighbor friends and stuff. It was just lived there until I was 17, and then went off to college.
Oh my goodness.
Yep.
Where did you go to college?
BYU.
Oh, okay.
I didn't last long though.
Alma mater.
Yeah, I was there for only 2 semesters and met a man and decided to get married instead.
Uh-huh.
That was pretty crazy. You know, in high school, I couldn't get a date to save my life. It was pulling teeth for me to get a guy to go out with me. Can't tell because I'm sitting here, but I'm 6'4".
Yes.
And that's kind of challenging when you're in high school dating and you're taller than every guy in the school, just about.
I'm sure that you've heard this question before, but I'm going to dive into it.
Sure.
And that is that, did you ever want to find your family? Knowing that you were adopted, did you ever have a desire to find your family?
Funny thing is, no. My little sister did. She always was saying, well, you're not my real mom, to my mom. She was the rebellious one in the family. And she found her birth family long, long before I did, 20 years before I did, if not more. And it was like she always felt like there was a hole inside her that she had to fill. And me, I didn't care either way. I was fine if they found me. I was fine if they didn't. But I never had the desire to find them. Although, whenever I got in trouble, which was quite a bit, because I was not like my mom.
Okay.
I was always doing the adventurous
Probably
things I
clashed
wasn't supposed
a lot,
to. Yeah,
right?
we clashed quite a bit. And I would get in trouble. I would fantasize when I was standing. Mom's favorite thing to do was standing us in a corner with our nose in the corner. So you just stand as close as you can get to the corner, and you have to stand there for 20, 30 minutes as your punishment for whatever we did.
Okay.
And I would fantasize that my real mother, the mother that gave birth to me, I never thought of her as my real mother. It was just my birth mother was a princess, and one day she's going to show up and rescue me from this tyrant of a mother. She wasn't a tyrant, but she and I definitely
we go into
clashed.
those stories, especially when we're being disciplined.
Yes,
you know?
Exactly. And at 6 years old, you think they're a tyrant, right?
Definitely.
Yeah.
And we're taught at that age, you know, the evil stepmother kind of the story,
Right.
Cinderella, right?
Yes.
And so I
The
can
wicked
see that,
stepmother, yeah.
yes, right. You just naturally would go into that place. And knowing that you were adopted, like, there's another family for me. I can
Right.
see my own imagination going into a
Right?
space like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Julie, tell us what happened that brought you into finding your birth family.
I had decided to, for some reason, take a DNA test. Actually, funny story. The reason I did the DNA test is I'm a believer in serendipity.
Okay.
One day, I've been working for home since 97, so for many, many years I've been self-employed from home. And I'm really good at getting up in the morning, going to work.
Okay.
That's just what I do. But one morning, back in 2012, I wasn't sick, but I just didn't feel right. I felt really off. And for some weird reason, I just decided to sit in front of TV and channel surf.
Okay.
I never did that in the morning. Ever.
Especially for someone that
Is so highly motivated and work-oriented. Yeah, and I just channel surfed, and I ended up watching Good Morning America.
Okay.
Because they had those between the commercial clips to get you to come back,
Yeah.
And they talked about that they were going to do a story on 23andMe. It was this new DNA test that you could order and learn about your DNA, basically.
Right.
And I'm like, ooh, I'm adopted. I was approaching 50,
Okay.
and I wanted to know, I don't have family medical history.
Oh.
What do I need to look out for? What will my DNA show that I need to watch out for?
Okay, not that you were looking for your family.
No. So
but
that's what
just-
caught my attention for the
Okay.
story. So I listened to the story, and they told how the DNA works, and you spit in a cup and mail it off, and then they email you with your results, and you get to learn all this stuff about yourself. And then the guy says, and then if you are, say, adopted, and you have family members that do the test as well, we'll let you know you have some relations, and if you both agree, we'll hook you up. And I went,
my
bonus?
word. Right?
Right? That's cool. So I was really more interested in the genetic DNA health aspect.
Okay.
The family, I was still very, very strongly feeling like my family did not want to be found. I've felt that since I was young. When my sister found her family, I toyed with the idea, but I just kept having this strong, powerful feeling that they didn't want to be found.
Like there was a wall.
There was a wall. There was a reason I shouldn't find them. So I decided not to. It didn't bother me. I didn't need them. I wasn't, like my sister just felt like there was this hole in her person that had to be filled.
Okay.
I've never felt abandoned by my parents. I never felt like they didn't want me or need me or any of that. There was a reason they couldn't raise me. My parents adopted me, and I've always been comfortable with that. It's rare with adoptees, I'm learning.
Yeah.
I thought everybody felt that way. I honestly thought every adoptee felt that way because it made sense to me.
Yeah.
There's a reason you're put up for adoption, period. So just
And have
appreciate
grace
the
with
parents.
that.
Yeah. Just appreciate that, however you were raised, you grew up. You are you. You make yourself you.
Yeah.
But the thought of meeting some family sounded kind of cool because I'm 6'4". My family is all short.
Oh.
I'm the only tall person I know other than my 2 ex-husbands. They were both taller than me.
Okay.
So
But
I thought it'd be kind of
still.
fun to see where, are my parents tall like me?
Yeah. Where am I from?
Do I have siblings that are tall like me? The height was a big deal. I was really curious about the height more than anything.
Because height had been.
Oh, it'd been a
In your
challenge my
face.
whole life.
Yeah.
In high school, I hated being so tall because I was bullied. From elementary school on, I was bullied about my height.
Oh.
And high school was the hardest because then you're really coming into the dating
And you're
and
becoming
your
a
personality
lady.
and a lady, and you're taller than all the guys, and they're
Yeah.
calling you string bean and stretch and jolly green giant and
Oh.
whatever stupid comment they can come up with.
Mean.
Yeah, so
You're
my
already
personality.
struggling.
Exactly.
Trying to figure yourself
trying to
out.
find pants that fit you, shoes that fit you.
Oh.
I was wearing guys' tennis shoes because they're the only shoes I could get on my big feet.
Goodness.
Funny trivia,
Yeah.
I have transvestites to thank for cute shoes now. It's true.
There you go.
Very few women have size 12 feet, so shoe companies are not about to make size 12 shoes for,
For
100
women.
people.
Wow.
But the transvestites wanted cute shoes.
Uh-huh.
So they started making them for transvestites, and now I can buy lots of cute
Yeah,
shoes.
gorgeous. Gorgeous shoes.
And 37-inch inseams, you can't buy those off the rack. I have to order them.
37.
37.
Wow.
So buying clothes was a challenge.
Yes.
Cars, beds, boys. In high school, it was boys. I wanted to go to the dances, every dance I wanted to go to. I would talk friends into taking me because I couldn't get a guy. I asked 7 different guys to prom my senior year and ended up going stag with my girlfriends.
Wow. How do you stay out of letting that tear you up?
I don't know the answer to that. I just, every time they told me no, it's like, well, I guess I understood because I was taller than every one of them. And my excuse in my head was they probably just were intimidated by, not intimidated, that wasn't the word I knew yet.
Yeah.
But it bothered them because, I mean, that's what it is. The guy is always taller than the girl. And at that point, nowadays, it's not as big a deal. But you're talking 40 years ago, it was
in high school.
The thing. Yeah, in high school.
Doesn't matter.
That that age group.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it was very challenging.
Sure.
And the curiosity whether my biological family was like me or not was there.
Yeah.
It just sounded fun to be able to meet some of them.
Okay.
But that wasn't the main reason for doing the DNA test. So I sent the test in, and at the time my dad that raised me, had been really sick. And I got the test results back in September, and my dad died in November, so just 2 months later. When I got the results, I had looked through them, but I really wasn't paying attention to it because there was too much going on.
Because you just experienced major trauma and
Exactly.
loss in your life.
Yeah, he hadn't died yet, but I was taking care of him. He'd been in the nursing home, and I was going there every day, and we'd been in the hospital. I was basically his medical go-to person.
Okay.
Mom fed him and, got him dressed and stuff, but I'm the one that took him to every doctor's appointment. I'm the one that had anything to do. He ended up having a couple surgeries. It was a nightmare of a year, we'll just say.
Did you feel closer to your dad than your mom?
Oh, yes, always. My mom and I were never best friends.
Okay.
Her and I fought my entire life because we're complete opposites, and I wasn't willing to bend, and she wasn't willing to bend.
But Dad
was my little champion. He was always telling me, you can do anything you want to do, Julie, if you put your mind to it. And whenever I did something, he'd always say, Julie, you do good work. My mom was like, you did it wrong. So it was those
I'm so
total
glad
opposites.
that you had that opposite.
Yeah, he taught me how to use tools. I helped him finish the basement. He taught me how to work on cars. I was his son, basically. My brother with cerebral palsy wasn't able to do stuff. So I was the one that did everything that boys did. So I was kind of the oldest child, Dad and I just clicked.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was pretty cool.
So you're taking care of Dad.
So I was taking care of Dad, and plus I had medical experience. I'd worked as a medical assistant for 4 years and a paramedic for 5 years. So I had the medical knowledge. So that's why I took care of Dad medically.
You are...
Oh, we hadn't even gotten into that.
Oh.
Gotta read my book.
Okay. Yes.
There's so many stories. When I got the test result, it said that I had the gene for a disease called alpha-1 antitrypsin deficiency.
Say that again.
Alpha-1 antitrypsin deficiency.
Okay.
I dare you to say it, and I even more double dare you to spell it.
Oh, no.
And I looked at it, and it said that it's a liver disease that could potentially lead to lung disease.
Now, this came back
on my DNA test, and I'm like, oh, so, the internet wasn't what it is now, but it was the internet. So I got on there, and I did some Google on it, and I did some research, and it talked about if you have, it just said that the gene that I had could lead to liver disease or lung disease. And it didn't say really a whole lot after that. And I'm like, well, I don't have any lung issues, and I don't have any liver issues. I do my blood tests every year when I do my physical. They've never said anything.
Okay.
So in the back of my mind, because there was so much going on right that time, taking care of Dad and stuff, in the back of my mind, I just went, well, if I start having lung issues, I have exercise-induced asthma, and I've had that since I was a kid. But it's not gotten worse, I didn't think. So I just thought if it did get worse, then I'd talk to a doctor about this disease. And I totally forgot about it and went on with my life. I was more worried about the Parkinson's and Alzheimer's genes that I have and one of the breast cancer genes.
Oh, yeah.
So those, to me, were bigger than this obscure word that I've never heard of.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, then Dad died, and then I changed my business. I started doing seminars, and life just got so busy. I never thought about the test again. I just put it away and didn't think about the gene I had, nothing.
Okay.
I did start doing mammograms on a more regular basis and talked to my doctor about that, but that was it.
Yeah.
Well, doing the seminars, about 1.5 years later, I got a wild hair, serendipity, again. Got this wild idea. I've been doing all of my seminars in Provo, and for some reason I just thought, I'm going to do one up in the Salt Lake area. I don't know why. I was having great success in Provo, but for some reason, this little thought in my head said, you got to do one in Provo. So I went, or in Salt Lake. So I went and looked at several different hotels to do my seminar. And the only one I liked was this one in Murray. So I booked the seminar and I sent out my 3,000, 5,000 mailers. And I normally have 60 to 80 RSVPs between my 2 or 3 seminars that I do.
Okay.
I had 5.
Oh.
Like, why did I have this wild hair to do it in Murray?
Be so successful.
Yeah, exactly. And I get 5 RSVPs, 2 people for one seminar and 3 for the other. I'm like, that's an expensive seminar. But you got people coming, so I go, I set up my seminar and I do my thing. And the first night, the 3 people, nobody books appointment. The second night, the 2 people, no, there were 3 people the second night. So it was 2 the first night and 3 the second night. 2 people sat in the front and 1 woman sat way in the back.
Okay.
And I talked to these 2 for a few minutes and they left. And then I talked to the other lady and just talked to her for a few minutes. And I'm like, do you want to schedule an appointment? Because she was asking some good questions. And she goes, yeah, let's do that. And she goes, I don't know why I said that. I never say yes. So I'm like, well, that was weird. Okay. So I scheduled an appointment with her and I go to her house. And I sit down at her table to start doing my thing. And she, first thing out of her mouth, she says, I'm dying of a liver-lung disease. I need to get my affairs in order. Can you help me? Yeah, that's the look on my face. I'm so sorry to hear that. Oh my gosh, I know I can. But then a little bell goes off in my little pea brain that says liver-lung disease. I says, of course I can help you. Do you mind if I ask what the disease is? And guess what she says? Alpha-1 antitrypsin deficiency.
The exact
disease that I have the gene for. And I went, wait a minute, you can die from that? I have that. She says, what do you mean you have that? And I told her about the DNA test. And she's like, well, did you talk to a doctor about it? Did you get your levels tested? I'm like, doctor, levels? What are you talking about?
This is foreign language to
Exactly.
me.
There was nothing on the internet about dying of it or levels or anything.
Wow.
She explains to me what the disease is. Do you want me to tell you what it is?
Yes.
Basically, when you get sick, you get a cold, you get allergies. We were talking about allergies to animals earlier.
Yeah.
You sprain an ankle, doesn't matter. The body sends out white blood cells to kill off the bacteria, the virus, to clean up the inflammation, the antihistamine, the allergy reaction.
Right.
These white blood cells called neutrophils. Well, a few days later, your liver sends out alpha-1 antitrypsin to shut down the white blood cells.
Okay.
Well, with alpha-1 antitrypsin deficiency, my liver doesn't send out that protein to shut down the white blood cells.
Okay.
Those white blood cells are running around my body like little Pac-Man, and they are eating my lungs away.
Because they're on high alert.
They're on high alert, and they're eating any soft tissue in my body, but the softest tissue is your lung tissue. So I actually had, at this point, and didn't know it, moderate emphysema.
Oh.
But I was so used to getting out of breath and thinking it was because I was 50 and getting old that...
Now, emphysema is on the skin.
That's eczema. Emphysema is lungs. I have super ball-size holes in my lungs.
Oh, my
Because those white blood cells have eaten away my whole lower lobes.
Wow.
Crazy, right?
But that's why you maybe weren't feeling very well.
That's why I was tired easily. If I walk up one flight of stairs, I had to stop because I'd get out of breath. I just thought I was getting old and out of shape.
I would too.
Exactly.
And here you are in a room with a woman who tells you the exact same thing that's going on. And because she's experienced it, she can tell you
how it works. So she explained to me that I needed my levels tested to find out how much alpha-1 my liver is actually putting out, if any. And if it's not enough, that I need to get on IVs to put that alpha-1 antitrypsin into my bloodstream to protect my lungs from deteriorating.
Oh my
It literally
goodness.
leads to a lung transplant if you let it go and don't catch it in time.
Wow.
So many people are diagnosed with emphysema, asthma, COPD, and we're told because they were exposed to chemicals or they smoked or, it's just they've got bad lungs, and they're never tested for alpha-1 antitrypsin deficiency.
But the DNA test pulled that up?
Exactly.
Wow.
Most pulmonologists don't even test their patients for it. It's crazy. So learning about the disease, so she got me hooked up with a doctor, got my levels tested, and I am severely deficient. I'm more deficient than her. Yeah. And she's had her dad, a brother, and an uncle die from the disease.
Oh my gosh.
And her lungs are worse off than mine. But she's not dead yet. She's still around. I love her. She's become a good friend.
Oh, that's amazing.
Right? So she basically saved my life.
She's become a mentor in your life.
So there was a reason I decided to do a seminar in Murray, and there was a reason that I didn't have 80 people there, because she told me if I had a full room, she would have snuck out the back and never talked to me.
Wow.
I
am covered in chills
right
now.
It blows my mind how the Lord has taken care of me to help me. Well, then she hooks me up with this doctor, and the doctor says, Julie, most people are not treated for this because nobody tests.
Yeah.
Your biological family could have this disease. You should find them so that they can get tested.
Oh, okay.
Light bulb goes off again. I got to find these people.
Yes.
I don't know how I'm going to do that.
Where do I start?
Yeah, so I ended up, I got on that, I've got to find him. And when I get a goal in mind, I just go after it full bore. My next client that I met with, after meeting with her, I did another seminar in Provo. I meet with a client, and he is a judge, a family judge.
Oh.
So he teaches me, because I had actually tried to find my family about 4 times prior to that, just because family and friends would encourage me to. So I went through the steps, but never found them, didn't care.
Right.
He taught me how to open my adoption records.
Oh.
But it wasn't as easy as it sounds. It took me a year fighting the courts several times and really repetitioning to finally get my adoption records opened.
That's so interesting that would be such a trial.
Right? Even the judge, when I met with him that night, he was like, oh, this will be easy. Here, fill out this form. No problem.
A year and a half later.
Took several times to reapply, and I got denied several times.
Wow.
And then finally he says, get another judge. This one's being really bad. So I got another judge, and then that one finally agreed to open it. So I had to request a second judge, basically. And the second judge went through everything. It still took a long time, months, for her to decide to go ahead and open it.
Wow.
Yeah. And my client that was a judge was in a different county, or he would have done it for me.
Oh, darn.
Right? I'm like, oh, come on, Judge, can't you just sign it? He goes, no, they're in a different county. I can't do it. But he helped me through it. And I found out later, just side note, the first judge was a brand new judge, and she was going by the letter of the law.
Okay.
No lenience whatsoever. Mm-hmm. So that was her problem.
Do it right. Yeah.
And the second judge, there were some other things that she requested we do, but eventually, after a year, I finally had the adoption records opened.
Congratulations.
Right, party!
Wow.
The second I found out, because I kept having to call and ask and call and ask and call and ask, and when they said, oh, we opened that up on Friday, somebody should have called you. I was like, why didn't they call me?
Right.
This was on a Tuesday.
Oh.
I called up my friend and went straight to the courthouse. I was like, I want to know now what's in the records, because I've got to find these people so they can get tested. That was really my main goal. I need these people to get tested. Because I couldn't stand the thought of somebody else suffering from this disease and not knowing about it. Mm-hmm. And if I could do something about it, I'm dang well going to do it.
Yeah.
So I go down to the courthouse, get the papers, make photocopies, and I sit down and look at it. There's a ton of information about my parents that adopted me. Addresses, date of birth, everything.
Wow.
But on my birth mother, there was 1-page letter. Not letter. It's the legal size document with I, Linda Morgan of Orem, Utah, agree to give this baby up for adoption, agree to never contact her, and her signature. And that's it. A name and a city. That's all I've got.
Holy cow.
Now what do I do?
Right. I got to find a family.
I've got to find a family off this. How
Is
am I
she
going to
even
find
alive, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I have a friend that's a PI that had been helping me.
You have a private investigator?
I have a private investigator as a friend. Love him. He'd helped me try to find my family before, and he's the one that told me there is absolutely nothing out there. The only way you're going to find your family is to have your adoption records opened.
Wow.
That's why I knew I had to go that route when I found out about the disease.
Sure.
Because I'd already gone that route.
Okay.
And that had been several years before that. So I call up him, and Sean does his whole thing, gets his researchers on it, and 2 days later we find nothing. I'd gone home, I'd Googled it, found nothing. Now what do I do?
Man.
Because, she was probably young. She's probably gotten married, so she's changed her name.
Oh.
This was 50 years ago.
Right.
Now how do I find somebody?
Mm-hmm.
Well, another light bulb goes off in my head, this time at 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm in bed. I get the wildest ideas at 2 o'clock in the morning. I started my business because of an idea at 2 o'clock in the morning. That's my time frame.
Touché.
Love 2 o'clock in the morning. I woke up for some reason and realized there was only one high school back in the 60s in Orem. And I went, oh.
In Orem?
In Orem, Utah.
Because that's where she was.
That's where she's from. Linda Morgan of Orem,
Oh.
Utah. And all the signature. I was born in Ogden, so I thought I was, they could have been out of state. Who knows where my parents could have been. But at least they're in the state.
Huh.
And they're in Orem.
Yes.
So I got out of bed, and 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm researching Orem High School alumni. Yearbooks. Anything. Nothing. So in the morning, I call Orem High School and ask for the library and said, hey, do you guys happen to know where I can get yearbooks from 1964-65? How's that for a good idea?
Yes, that's an incredible
I don't know how
idea.
I thought of it, but light bulbs, I love these little light bulbs. I
Yes.
must have 100 of them in my head. No, just kidding.
Twinkle lights.
So I called them, and they're like, oh, we have all the yearbooks here. I'm like, no freaking way. So
Wow.
I jumped in my car, and I drove to Orem High School.
Yes.
Pulled out all the yearbooks. I'll shorten the story a little bit. I'm flipping through all of them. I'm finding all kinds of Morgans, but no Linda. And there was one book missing. I went back up to the librarian, and she had it in the back. She grabbed it for me. I'm flipping through 1964, and I stop. And I'm staring at myself in the book. My heart stopped. I'm like, that's her.
No denying
That's
it.
my mom. That's my mom. It's like light bulb again. Oh my gosh. And I start telling the kids that are in the library, that's my mom. I haven't met her yet, but that's my mom.
Oh my
Instant
word.
recognition. I look so
To see
much
somebody
like her.
that looks like you?
Yes, I've never looked like anybody before.
Oh,
I don't look anywhere near anyone in my family growing up. So to see someone that looked like me was mind-boggling.
wow.
I'd always joked for 50 years that my lifeline started with me and ended with me. Because I have no family and I never had kids.
Yeah. Oh.
So my bloodline was just my body. When I died, my bloodline died. I'd always known that.
Wow.
It's not true anymore.
Yeah.
There's somebody that has my blood, and hopefully they're still alive.
I can't imagine the plethora of emotions that you went through at
Hyper.
that point.
I was so hyper.
Wow.
So hyper. I'm
So
like,
happy.
I gotta go find her now. I got a picture. I got a name. And I had found the name of one male Morgan. All the rest were females. And I'd already figured at that point she had to change her name, so probably all the other females had changed their name.
Okay.
But I had a male,
Mm-hmm.
Greg Morgan.
Okay.
So now what do I do with this?
Greg Morgan.
Greg Morgan. So I went home and I Googled Greg Morgan and instantly got an address in Orem.
In
What are the
Orem?
chances? He's in Orem.
He's still in Orem.
Right? It was the county records, so apparently he bought a house 6 years prior.
Okay.
So he may still live there. He may have moved out. He may have, who knows, but his name is still the name on that house. So now what do I do?
Yeah.
I call up a friend of mine. What do I do? I don't know. Do I write him a letter? Do I go show up at their door? Do I get an attorney to write him a letter? What do I do? This is all the stuff that's going through my head in seconds.
Yeah.
And I just went, I'm just going to go drive by the house and see if he still lives there. Like, okay. So I grabbed my stuff, jumped in the car, drove to his house. It was a cold January morning. And I'm sitting there looking kitty corner across the house. Nobody's around, no name on the mailbox, nothing. And I'm like, how do I find out if he lives there? I was hoping a kid would walk by or somebody and I would ask, do Morgans live there?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody walked by. And then I saw a man come out of the door. And he went and put something in the back of a pickup truck. And I went, that's him. I was talking to my business partner on the phone. I'm like, Shane, that's him. It still looks like him. It's the right age. It's got to be him. Now what do I do? It just got real. So I, like, crap. Now do I go? He's going to think I'm crazy if I go knock on his door. What do I do?
Right.
He goes back in the house, and I'm just, like, seriously freaking out. What do I do? And I had seconds to make up my mind when he comes walking out of the door and he goes to get in the truck. And I'm like, crap, he's leaving. I'm not waiting another day.
Right, yes.
So I put my car in gear, and I drove up behind his truck and parked.
Oh, you did?
I did. Got out of my car.
He's going nowhere.
He's going nowhere, exactly. I got out of my car and quickly drove up to walked up to his window. He rolls down the window. It's one of the mini pickup trucks, not a big pickup truck, so I'm looking down on him. I'm quite a bit taller than the truck.
Okay.
And he's looking up at me, and he's like, yes. And I said, are you Greg Morgan? And now he's going, yes. And
What do I owe?
Yeah, he's like, who are you and what do you want? You could just see it in his eyes. And I says, is Linda Morgan your sister? Because I didn't know at this point. He could have been a cousin. He could not even be related. I don't know at this point.
Morgan's. Right?
Morgan's a popular name. So I went, is Linda Morgan your sister? And now he goes, yes. Now he's really skeptical. Because I know what's going on in his mind now, but back then I didn't. You know, she's married. She's not Linda Morgan anymore. So how do I know Linda Morgan?
Why is this child?
Why is this person, this giant person?
Right, yeah.
I'm a good 1.5 feet above his head at this point.
Oh, okay.
He's looking that far up at me, and I'm like, yeah. He says, yes, she is. And I says, this is going to come completely out of left field, and you may not even know, but did she give a baby up for adoption in 1965? And he goes, no, I'm sorry, she didn't. And I just, instantly deflated. Went from super high to super crap. Now what do I do? Because my brain just said,
that was my only
now
door.
this is my only lead. Now where do I go? And then I went, wait a minute. It's got to be her. She looks too much like me for it not to be her. What are the chances that Linda Morgan looks just like me and is not my mom, right?
Yeah.
So I happened to put all of the paperwork that I had gathered through this whole thing in my back pocket. Don't ask me what made me do that. Just like what made me watch the Good Morning America. I had it all in my back pocket.
Wow.
I pulled it out. I showed it to him. The paperwork with her signature, stuff I had from her adoption showing how old she was when I was born, all this stuff. He goes, well, that sounds like her. She was in trouble a little bit at high school. She did go away for a while.
Oh.
I was only 12. He didn't know.
No clue.
Instantly, I was back on high because he didn't know, and it is her.
Wow.
I knew it. There was no doubt in my mind at that point it was her.
She went away for a while.
She went away for a while. He didn't know about it. He didn't know why. She had gotten in trouble at school, and that's why she was sent off to a foster home for a while. That's all he knew. He says, well, I'll tell you what.
For what, 9 months?
Yeah, right? Exactly. Well, at 12 years old, you don't think about that.
No, you don't.
He was a 12-year-old boy that was more interested in building forts and flying kites. Who knows what he did. But he said the nicest thing. He says, I'll tell you what. Give me your phone number, and I'll ask my sister, and if it is her, I'll have her call you. And I was like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. I was so relieved and just you can't imagine the emotions that were going through me at that point. I still can't imagine, and I went through it. So I wrote my number down, and we chatted for a minute, and I just looked at him, and I just had the craziest thought, and I said, you know, if it is true, that means you're my uncle. And he lit up. I mean, his face lit up, and he goes, I'd like that.
Oh.
I was like, yay! And I was like, oh. I said, I would too. I said, thank you so much. He was super nice. And then we just went on our way, and he pulled out. I walked back to my car, and I watched him pull out of the driveway and leave. And I called Tina, my friend, and said, guess what? I just found my uncle. And I knew she'd call me that night. Well, guess what? She didn't call me that night.
Oh.
You
held your breath?
You know how hard it is to hold your breath for 48 hours?
Oh.
She didn't call that night. Tina calls the next morning. Did you hear from her? No, but she'll call today. Well, what if she doesn't call? Tina's always my devil's advocate.
Okay.
She'll call. What if she doesn't call? Well, then I'm going back over to Greg and I'm telling Greg about the disease, and he can tell his sister.
Okay.
All I cared is I'd found him. If I never met her at this point, I was still okay with that.
That's incredible,
Hard
Julie.
for people to believe, but my only goal at this point was she needs to know about the disease.
Yeah.
Greg needs to know. He's her brother.
I have a
this
life-threatening...
whole family needs to know about this life-threatening disease, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't care what anybody thought or felt. They're going to learn about the disease. That was my sole purpose in life at that point.
Wow.
It would be nice to meet her.
Mm-hmm.
I have a million questions.
Sure.
But that's not the priority. I got the feeling Greg would tell me all the answers I wanted. He was pretty nice.
Okay.
But at this point I didn't care because she was going to call me.
Mm-hmm.
That was solid in my mind. Finally on Sunday, that was on Friday, finally on Sunday afternoon, I get a call from a number I don't recognize, but I instantly know it's her. But I was at church, so I couldn't answer the phone. And I was on pins and needles to get out of church. Like, so...
Don't want to miss the opportunity.
Yeah, it was my cousin's son's mission farewell.
Okay.
So I was there I was at my cousin's ward.
Mm-hmm.
And then we were all going to my cousin's house or my uncle's house afterwards for the party.
Okay.
So I get out of church and I drive to my uncle's house, not Uncle Greg, but my uncle I grew up with. And I parked away from the house and I picked up the phone and I called her back. She answers the phone and she goes, hello?
Uh-huh.
I says, is this Linda? And she goes, is this Julie? And I said, yes, I'm so excited that I just, I verbally threw up on the phone. Okay. So excited to meet you, and, just thank you for calling me back. And then she starts telling me her story. She says, I was 16 actually, when she got pregnant with me. And she had been in trouble. And the courts ordered her to give me up for adoption. She didn't get a choice. The family didn't get a choice. Because she was a juvenile delinquent in their mind.
Oh my goodness.
So she was never given the opportunity even to raise me if she wanted to.
Wow.
They wanted to, turns out. So she was shipped off to a foster home. And that's where she was the whole time she was pregnant with me. My dad was shipped off to the military, the Navy. He was given the choice of going to jail for statutory rape. Right? This was the 60s.
Okay.
She was 16. He was 19.
Mm.
And so he joined the Navy. And she says, but then he got medically discharged from the Navy, came home, and they got married, and I have 2 sisters.
Oh my.
She tells me all of this in the span of 10 minutes.
They got married?
They got married.
You have 2 sisters.
I have 2 sisters. I learned all of this in 10 minutes. She just verbally threw all that out at me.
Can you imagine how long she's held onto that story?
She says, but nobody knows you exist. She never told anyone that I exist. And as she starts telling me all this stuff, I'm like, I want to do this in person. So we're still on the phone. Our conversation lasted 12 minutes. I remember hanging up the phone and looking at it 12 minutes. I learned so much about her in 12 minutes. It was amazing. Minutes. But my thought was, I don't want to do this all over the phone. I says, Linda, can we meet? Do you want to meet? I would love to meet. I would love to hear all these stories in person. She goes, okay. I said, can we do it today? I know it's Sunday, but can we do it today? She goes, well, my favorite restaurant is Village Inn in Orem.
Oh.
I says, okay, I've got to go to this family party.
Yeah.
But I'll meet you at Village Inn at X time.
You got to suffer through this family party.
Oh my gosh. I had to tell somebody, so I told one of my cousins, the youngest one, and I knew I could trust her. She keeps all my secrets. Uh-huh. And I'm like, blah, 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 told her the whole thing. It was pretty fun. She's like, how are you sitting here? I'm like, I don't know, but that's what time we agreed on, so I've got to sit here till we get there.
Oh my goodness.
And so I left the party, and I go to Village Inn, and I got there early, and I just kept watching every person that walked in. I'm like, no, not her, not her, not her, her. She doesn't look anything like me now. And if I saw her in the streets, I would never even think of her as my mom, but I instantly knew it was her. I was like, yep, that's her. I got out of my car and met her before she got to the door. And she just reached up, because she's only 5'4". She's a foot shorter than me.
Oh my goodness.
She reaches up and gives me the biggest hug and starts crying. And I just instantly, I said, Mom, she's so much like me. Technically, I'm so much like her. It's amazing how much we have in common. So we went inside the restaurant, sat down at the table, and talked for 4.5 hours.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ah, it was like so much to catch up on.
So much to catch up on.
Such a blessing that she was open.
Exactly.
To
Not
receiving
only was she
you.
open, she brought an entire box full of photo albums, cameras with pictures on it, pictures in frames. She wanted to introduce me to her family. So we talked for a couple hours before she said, I've got these pictures. Do you want to see pictures? And we did. We went through all the pictures, had the best time.
Wow.
So then she says to me, I want you to meet my daughters, but they don't know you exist, so I've got to tell them first. Can you imagine that conversation? Can you imagine being her? I can't imagine how hard that would be. Mm-hmm. You're grown kids. They've got to be younger than me, but I'm 50, so they're in their 40s most likely.
Okay.
And they don't know that their mom had another child. Crazy, right?
Yep. Yep.
So we'll shorten the story because I could go on forever. I ended up meeting the sisters a week later.
Okay.
At another restaurant. She just blurted out to them, by the way, you have a sister.
She didn't set it up in any other way, huh?
Well, actually, my sister helped with that. So they had all been at my sister's house. My one sister lived in Riverton. My other sister lived in Idaho, and she was down for the weekend. And so they were all staying at the one sister's house. And they'd been remodeling the house, and they had to go to the hardware store to get some more supplies. So Linda says to my two sisters, the three of us only, tells everybody else in the family, only the three of us are going, there's something I need to talk to you about. And she'd been trying to talk to him for a couple of days.
Okay.
And when they pull up in the Lowe's parking lot, the sisters, her daughters, whatever, tried to get out of the truck, and she's like, wait, I need to talk to you first. And one of my sisters says, this is so funny to me, it cracks me up every time, because she had been trying to tell him something important all weekend, and so my sister, instead of, my first thought would have been cancer. Mm-hmm. Mom's dying, or Mom's got something going on. Instead, Lisa says, what's up, Mom? Are you pregnant?
Oh, my goodness.
She's 7 years old. Is she really going to be pregnant?
Yeah.
Right. So she thought she was being funny.
Right.
Well, Linda goes, well, when I was 16, I got pregnant. And Lisa in her mind's going, you were 17 when you got pregnant with me. Or no, 18. So essentially, my sister is 12 months younger than me. So it was exactly a year before my sister was born that she gave me up for adoption. So my sister's thinking, because Linda says in 65 I gave a baby up for adoption, and Lisa's thinking, well, I was born in 66. What's going on, Mom? And Mom's got dementia now. This is what's going on in my sister's mind, because she's not understanding what her mom is saying.
Sure.
But then finally Linda just blurts out, so in 65, I gave a baby up for adoption. You have a sister. And both my sisters lost it. They freaked out, started crying, going, what are you talking about? And just blah, 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 and then walking around Lowe's getting all the supplies that they needed. My sisters are walking around in a daze trying to figure out life. And then finally Linda says to him, do you want to meet her? And one sister says, you've met her already? And they're all thinking the same thing Linda thought when I first showed up at Greg's. What does she want?
Yeah.
And these girls are going, what does she want?
Right. Oh.
Well, believe it or not, I met them within about 2 hours of that conversation.
Wow.
Yeah, I met them that day. They went home from Lowe's, told everybody in the family that Linda had given a baby up for adoption and we're going to go meet her. And then we all met at the restaurant. And we talked for another couple hours there.
Oh, good.
And I learned how much I'm like my sisters.
Huh.
It was so cool.
You have a family.
This connection. I have a family now.
Wow.
But then come the story of telling them about the disease. And that all came about because they were talking about how everybody has lung issues in our family.
Wow.
My grandpa died of lung issues. My birth father died of lung issues. Both my sisters have lung issues. I have a niece that has lung issues. So guess what? I brought tests and I tested every single one of them.
Oh my goodness.
And both of my sisters have the disease just like I do, and they're just as deficient.
Oh my word.
And they both have emphysema. We all have the same symptoms.
Okay, so I need to know, you've got your mom, you've got your two sisters. Where does Dad fit in with this?
So Dad, we're pretty sure, had the disease because my mom's a carrier.
Okay.
And the likelihood of 2 carriers having only 3 children and all 3 of them having the disease is like 1 in 10 million or billion. I don't know. It's statistically impossible.
Okay.
So we're pretty sure that my dad had both genes. Mom's a carrier because all 3 of us have both of the genes.
Okay.
Pretty crazy, right? But Dad died in 2003 of lung issues.
2003. And what year was?
This was 2015 when I found him, 16.
Oh,
16,
okay.
2016. So he'd been gone 13 years by the time I found him. So unfortunately, I didn't get to meet him.
Yeah, but you had pictures of him.
Lots of pictures. I'm built just like him. He's 6'8", skinny as a rail.
6'8". And now you know where you
I
get
know where
your
my height comes from. And Linda told me later on when she saw me in the parking lot when we met that first time at the restaurant, she says, my brother told me that you were tall. And my dad's name was Lee. She says, I knew you were tall because Greg had told her that. She says, but I wasn't expecting to see Lee. I look just like my dad. And I look even more like his mother.
Oh,
my grandma.
wow.
I'm the spitting image of my grandma. Crazy, right?
How you fit in.
I know. I actually have a whole family that looks like me. I call one of my
Yes.
sisters my little mini-me.
Oh, my goodness.
Mini at 5'10", yeah.
Yeah. So now you've been able to share with them
Yes.
this disease. Where are we at now?
So everybody's doing really good. The
Okay.
IVs that we're all getting the IVs to put the alpha-1 antitrypsin into our bloodstream.
How often do you have to do the IVs?
Once a week. Every Wednesday morning, a nurse comes to my house and pokes a hole in my arm for the rest of my life.
Wow.
And I get to get an IV. I don't have to.
Okay.
I get to.
Okay.
I am grateful
Grateful.
that I get that IV because that actually is slowing the progression of the disease. Where on the trajectory where I was headed, I would have needed a lung transplant within 10 years. But because I get to get these IVs, it'll slow it down and I may never have to get that far.
So you must be a strong advocate for blood donations?
Exactly. I was just going to say where the IV comes from is you go to a plasma donation center and donate plasma.
Okay.
They take alpha-1 antitrypsin out of your plasma and they put it into me to save my life. So all those people out there that donate plasma, I'm so grateful that they're saving my life. I've been to several donor centers and thanked people that are doing it.
You've done it individually?
I love that. Yes, I'm going to do more.
Wow.
Yep, I love that because most people don't know why they're donating plasma. They get paid for it. They know that it's used for something, but it literally saves lives. Mine, my sister's, a lot of people I know.
That's absolutely incredible.
Thank you.
And so you have written a book.
Yes.
About this incredible journey.
So all these stories are in here and many, many more.
many more. And
yes.
That is why it is called
The 50-Year Secret.
The 50-Year Secret.
Yep, because I was 50 when I found my mom and I let out the secret. Crazy, right?
It is incredible. Now, where can we find this book?
Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Indie. There's several places. If you just Google The 50-Year Secret, it should pop up. But Amazon's the best place. It's on Audible.
Yes, it is.
You listen to the Audible. It's on hard, soft, and also Kindle. And it right now is being written into a movie script, so eventually it'll be on the screen for you to watch.
Oh, I can't
Is that so exciting?
That would be an incredible movie.
My main reason for doing the book and the movie, 100%, is to get word out there about alpha-1 antitrypsin and just taking care of your health. Because it may not be this gene that you have.
Okay.
Any adoptee should do a DNA test to find out what genetic diseases they might have. And a lot of people have told me that they don't want to know about it. It scares them to know about the diseases. Sure. But it's actually so empowering. I could have crawled in a hole when I found out about this and said, oh crap, oh woe is me and all of that.
All that I've dealt with.
All the crap that I've been through before even finding out this disease.
Right.
But it actually empowered me to take control of my health, my life, my destiny. I'm going to live so much longer because I am taking care of it. Where if I would have just said, oh, I don't want to deal with it, which I've met several people that found out they had the disease and they don't want to deal with it.
Okay.
You're giving yourself a death sentence. Why would you do that to yourself?
Yeah.
Love yourself enough to take care of yourself.
So beautiful.
And that's what I want to do, is inspire people. Yeah.
And you carry that message with you.
Yes.
And I can see that has changed and saved lives.
Yeah. So many lives it's changed and saved.
Wow.
Changed
Julie.
the trajectory of my life, too, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Julie, thank you so much for taking me and my audience on this incredible journey with you, and your example that shines through strength and allowing those experiences to transform you to become who you are and not stifle you is just absolutely amazing.
I hope it helps other people do the same thing.
Yes.
It's an amazing feeling when you can empower yourself to help other people that way. I love it.
Thank you for your example.
Thank you.
If you've enjoyed this episode, remember to subscribe, share, like us on Facebook, and follow us on Instagram. Please comment, because I would love to hear about what you think and what you want to see in the future. I'm no therapist, but I am your host, Stephanie Goodman.